Hello, Tracy Jackson, and as a spiritual cheerleader again, coming to you with a mid-read book review for the Kuan Yin transmission, which is a book by Alana Fairchild. Really, really pretty book that I just started reading this past Monday. I kind of devoured it. I'm about 100 pages into the book right now, and I've just kind of been reading on breaks or whatever, but I felt really called to kind of share my thoughts on this book because I haven't really encountered a book that's been like this, and this is kind of what I've been wanting from like an author, because I've been wanting to learn more about particular goddesses and how to invoke them, and how to work with them from the spiritual level, and this book really speaks to that. I was going to do a written review, and I'm going to try to do it at some point in time, but my WordPress was not cooperating with me. My computer is just not cooperating with me, and I really wanted to share this week. So I felt like Spirit was like, okay, let's go ahead and do another video. So you get to see me 3 times in this one wonderful newsletter that I have. So this book, the Kuan Yin transmission, for those that might not know, I am a soul guidance and sacred mentoring practitioner with Alana Fairchild. It's a program where you study with her for about a year, learning how to hold space and administer, facilitate healing templates with various angelic, goddess, and ascended master host. And so I came to know a lot of the goddesses through my work in soul guidance, sacred mentoring, and her book. If you haven't gotten Crystal Goddesses 888, I definitely recommend that, just for getting some background information about each of the goddesses that are featured in her Crystal Mandala Oracle card. Obviously, though, in the book, there are some ways to work with those goddesses, or she might mention a various mantra that is used, or things of that nature that you can use to work with that goddess, and various feelings or elements that kind of go with that goddess. But this book is different. It has a companion CD that it's a 4 CD set. If you actually buy it as a CD, I actually got the MP3s on Google, and just FYI, Google seems to be the most cost sensitive of all of the places that I've seen it. It was, I think, like $32 or $42 on Amazon for the MP3s, and so I think it was like $12.87 on Google. So I got it on Google. It's amazing because she actually has a couple of just meditations to use to work in invoking the energy and bringing in the energy of the goddess. She then has these longer, deeper meditations where you're kind of on a guided visualization, working with this goddess, or invoking their energy, or invoking their particular essence, whichever way that she has kind of brought it forth. And the cool thing about the Kuan Yin transmission is you're not just working with Kuan Yin. The way that Alana has kind of really looked at this is as the goddess having various faces, and she's kind of identified certain goddesses that she believes kind of are like working together, but are just different faces of the divine, right? The Divine Mother in its forms. And so in this book, she talks not only about Kuan Yin, she talks about Tara, which is a deity, a Buddhist deity. She talks about Kali, which is a Hindu goddess. She talks about Mother Mary, obviously from the Christian tradition, and she talks about Isis, who is Egyptian. So she talks about all of these faces of the Divine Mother, the divine, feminine goddess, and speaks to their connection to even one another. Like I said, I've just kind of started going through it, but in the first couple of chapters, you're really getting to know Kuan Yin. You're getting to know the protections that she affords via the Lotus Sutra. You're getting to learn the different emanations, or the different ways that Kuan Yin manifests, the different ways that people have described her. It's the 33 forms, and Alana talks about the fact that in those 33 forms, it's not a limit on her. This is just, it's symbolic that it's 33 forms, but she comes in, many forms. And she kind of talks about these 33 forms and even identifies her with other goddesses through the 33 forms. Like her manifestation in that form reminds her of this goddess or that goddess, which is really, really cool. She has several things on Mother Mary. She has, like I said, a whole chapter on Tara, and she talks about the different emanations of Tara, like, black Tara, green Tara, white Tara, red Tara, which is something that I've only, really encountered green Tara and white Tara. I knew that there were other, variations of Tara, but I never really understood like what they represented or their essence, and this book really goes into depth to explain that. She also talks about Kali. She has a whole chapter on Kali, talking about her energy. On, like I said, Mother Mary, and a chapter on Isis. And then she has a whole second section of the book that just relates to healing practices that you can use to connect with the goddesses. And they kind of relate to the CD, like the meditations and things that are on the CD. And she gives like these very, very detailed, ways in which you can connect with the goddess through various mudras and dance and things like that. And then she even has the transmission. And so what I was mentioning is that Alana told us she went to Tibet last year while we were doing the Soul Guidance and Sacred Mentoring program, and I remember her saying after she got back, she was like, I feel like I got this huge download from Kuan Yin while I was in Tibet, and I need to kind of take a little bit of a breather. There will be people, like we have a Dr. Joe Boney, who is kind of her co-lead in the Soul Guidance Sacred Mentoring program. She was like, Dr. Joe will be here, you'll have support here if you need it, but I gotta write this. And then to see like this book, it's just really amazing to recognize and see something that she spoke about really come into form, especially so quickly. Obviously, she's been working on it for a while. This was just kind of like the last piece in the puzzle, was going to Tibet and speaking and doing that. But it's just really, really interesting to see. And I just wanted to share some of the pictures of like, her teaching you kind of the mudras and how to connect in, because I just think they're freaking gorgeous. And it's so helpful to have these ways of not only connecting from a meditative standpoint, but connecting from the mudra and the movement standpoint, because so many don't really talk to that. The only other book that I can think of that kind of reminds me of this is Sally Kempton's Kali book, where she really goes through you know, connecting to Kali through meditation, through yoga movements. And, you know, there's definitely some ways that you can connect to these goddesses through various yoga movements, and the mudras and things that Alana shares here are some of them. She has mantra meditations that you can use to connect with them, and she shares a lot of those mantras on the actual CD. But the book is absolutely gorgeous. Like I said, I'm only halfway through, and I'm really going through the 33 forms of Tara right now. So I mean 33 forms of Kuan Yin, I'm sorry. And so I'm really excited to get through that, and move on to, you know, kind of learning about the cosmic Madonna, you know, the emanation of Mother Mary in that form, and then moving on to learning a little bit more about the different versions of Tara and everything. But I wanted to share this with you because I'm kind of over the moon excited about it. One of the other things I'm like super duper excited about is the fact that Alana in this book, she's about to come out with a Kali oracle deck, and she's been kind of, you know, slowly leaking some of the artist's work in relation to it, and this book actually contains some of the artist's work. I'm going to show you one picture that I just really love, but there's several pictures in here, and I'm like, it's I love seeing Kali like this. Like, I just love it. And like I said, there's so many pictures like that in here, that just kind of show that fierceness and that wildness, but also that love of Kali. And one of the things that Sally Kempton's book really allowed me to do was see Kali not only as the ferocious, fierce, you know, chopper down of demons, but also to see her as that fiercely loving mother. And this book kind of reiterates that loving nature of Kali, to kind of be like a protector, like a mama bear, if you will, to, you know, get rid of the stuff that you need to get rid of, but I'm protecting you from the things that you really just don't need to experience, like you don't really need. And obviously many times we've been conditioned to be a little bit fearful of Kali because of her essence. You know, a lot of people kind of like shriek back at Kali, or either they're like, they love her, right? And I've definitely had some Kali experiences, and I love her, because she's allowed me to let go of so many things that I didn't realize that I, number one, was holding on to, or things that I really just didn't recognize that I could live without, you know. And I appreciate her for that. So that is my little mid book review in a nutshell. I cannot wait to finish this book. I'm usually on books like this, it's more of like a teaching tool, and I'm not usually, you know, just reading it or devouring it like I would read a regular book. But this one is different. Like, I'm so I've been so like interested, like I said, in learning more about the goddess and learning more about the sacred feminine, and this book really delves deep into so many of the different goddesses, so many, you know, faces of the divine feminine, how they kind of manifest, with real world examples. That's one of the things that I also want to emphasize about this book. Alana, it's not something where you hear about the divine nectar of Kuan Yin and go, well, what does that mean? What's divine nectar? Like, she brings it down into a real world example that you can understand. Like, okay, the divine nectar is like, prosperity, and like you opening up to allow that prosperity to come in or whatever. Like, it's very detailed in that way. It's like kind of speaks to it in real human terms, if that makes any sense. I sometimes I dislike books where it's all up here and it's only for the spiritually minded, and you're going, well, how does that relate to me practically? This book really gives some practical advice on when you would go to this version of Kuan Yin, or when this version of Kuan Yin might manifest in your life. And so I really appreciate that. I also really appreciate the kind of cross-referencing the versions of Kuan Yin with other goddesses that kind of have that same essence because of the variation. So I hope that helps you this week. I'm really sorry that I couldn't write out the review like I wanted so I could share some of the pictures. I'm hoping that maybe it'll get back up and running and I'll be able to do it, but I hope that you enjoyed this instead. If you did, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Feel free to sign up for my newsletter so that you get valuable information like this on the weekly. And I hope you have a great week. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.